Now, speaking of technology and his approach to technology, you've got every time I've seen you, you are operating with the last couple times I've seen you play with your group. It'll be a quartet. You, bass, keyboard, drums.
Yep.
And then you always have a loop pedal with you.
Yep.
Or a loop? Is it a loop station of some? What do you call it? What is that thing?
I call it a looper effects module. Just it has a lot of stuff. One of said stuff being a looper.
Sure. How long have you been working with that?
This particular machine or looping in general?
In general.
Yeah. So I started looping my senior year of college of undergrad at NEC. So now that would be like 7. Oh my God, 7 years. What is time?
I try not to think about that, man.
Oof. Yeah. So 7 years, and it started totally randomly. A friend of mine, a guitar player friend of mine, was getting rid of his looper pedal and was like, "Do you want to just like try it?" I'm like, "I don't know. I guess whatever." And then it totally opened up a whole new world.
Sure. And now you're building all these compositions and arrangements and various things on you being able to loop yourself.
Yeah.
For the people listening, my recommendation is to go check out what you're doing because it's fascinating. I mean, it's pretty deep stuff. When I was watching this, the live stream from what is it, Sam First?
Sam First. Oh yeah.
And you did Nobody Else But Me.
Yep.
And you go through 2 choruses singing the bass line, and then come in to sing the melody, and over the top of what you've already sung.
Yeah.
And then you're able to comp on the keyboard while improvising over your own bass line over the whole thing. I mean, it's a really cool approach. And
Thanks.
I'm sure that there are a lot of considerations. I mean, to be able to do little layers and things like that, people figure it out. But you're dealing with some kind of high risk, high reward, stuff going on with the looper or whatever. How do you? Is there? I mean, it must have just been practice over time to try to get this stuff together.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the funny thing is that every loop is so different. That actually was not the first time I'd ever done a standard with a walking bass line, but the first time I'd ever done a standard with a walking bass line and also comping on piano. And that literally was a spur of the moment decision. As I was finishing the bass line, and I've crossed my fingers that I was in tune because I'm not always in tune. My ear, if I'm looping, because it doesn't matter because it's all relative. But if I'm a cappella, I tend to be a little flat. I tend to exist at like A equals 432 region. And so I was hoping beyond hope that I was in tune with the keyboard. And thankfully I was like mostly in tune with the keyboard. But yeah, I literally, as I was finishing that bass line chorus, I was like, okay, here we go. But yeah, so every loop is different. And I think that like the practice that goes into it, it kind of depends on what the music is asking for. I like to experiment with a lot of different things, like obviously like the main ones being like melody, rhythm, and harmony, but timbre even. I was talking actually with a friend yesterday about this idea of layering your voice, but layering your voice where it doesn't only sound like you. So I tend to, if I'm doing like a triple, meaning like I record myself and then 2 more layers of that same part, I'll tend to do like a regular Michael voice, a darker Michael voice, and a brighter Michael voice. So when the 3 of them come together, it kind of sounds like 3 variations or 3 separate people.
Sure.
And yeah, it kind of is the gift that keeps on giving, because whenever you try a new thing, there's so many different applications of that in other loops that you do.
Sure. Is this an appropriate time? Do you have the thing set up?
I do.
Do you want to do a little demonstrate? Maybe that specifically.
Sure.
I'd be curious to know or to hear your the discrepancies between the 3 Michaels.
Absolutely. Yeah, so this is a loop that I do from time to time. It doesn't have a name. So far it's called 2-parter because there's a first part, and what I'm about to do now is the second part.
Okay.
So I'll lay down the main part of the loop. Oh, I just realized this has been looping the whole time. Oops, luckily it was silence. So I am just gonna lay down the main part of this loop. So oh, I have to, sorry, give me 2 seconds. I forgot about one little sound thingy. Unmute. Okay. Hey. All right. 2, 3. Do do dee do 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 dee do 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 All right, so here comes the part. I'm going to loop the same part 3 times, and you'll hear the difference in sound. So now if I solo that, you hear how it's like those little slight discrepancies? Mm-hmm. And then when the whole thing comes together, it sort of plays to this like different textural landscape that's going on.
Sure. And even though it's you a number of times, it's not, you can hear the specifics of the different parts and everything like that.
Yeah, totally. And I think that's something that I think is really fun to mess around with as a singer, because I think so often we get pigeonholed, and we then pigeonhole ourselves into like having a sound or having like a particular thing that we do, when really it's like, you know, we have such unlimited tools, we have such an unlimited landscape at our disposal, and I think it's quite a shame if you, in the face of that, you choose to only do one thing, or like even like 2 or 3 things. Like there's always so much more to be explored, and in anything, not just singing, in anything that you can do, there's always going to be something beyond what you understand now. So like I just like to explore a lot of things in different realms like that.